Very good morning and welcome to FYI. Gather round, gather round. We are happy to be here with you guys another day. We're happy that you are here with us. The shows wouldn't be what they are without you fantastic folks joining us. We're a little late this morning. I'll tell you why in a second. We are on a little late this morning. I will tell you why in just a little bit, but happy to have each and every one of you here. It is Monday, the 9th day of September already. I couldn't believe that this morning. By the time we get to the end of the week, it's the middle of the month already. Have you guys seen that? By the time we get to the middle of the week, by the end of the week, it's middle of the month. Yep, believe it or not, we're just happy that you folks are here with us. Nonetheless, as the month ebbs on, a very good morning to each and every one of you. Good to see you guys here. Lots happened over the weekend. What a restless weekend it was. Good to have all of you with us. Quite a restless weekend, folks. Quite a restless weekend. And so great to have you folks here with us. So very, very great to have you guys here with us. Good to see all of you on the live this morning. Great to see each and every one of you there. Joel Alexander and Donald Harding, Lynn Fernandes, and look how many of you. Cheryl Ann Haywood. Good to have all of you here. Done it. Good to have you here with us this morning. Done it. How are you folks not doing this morning? Good to have Sud Harik, Sud Chat, Magnell Barrow is here. Sean of Fortune is here as well. I know some of you probably thought we weren't going to have the show this morning, but we couldn't do that to you folks. Folks, today is the very first day our youngest son has gone off to school. Yep, Zane went off to school this morning, and I tried my best to get him there early and be back for the show. It didn't work out. It didn't work. My apologies. Oh, the traffics. Is it me, or the more roads we build, is there more cars and trucks and bikes and motorcycles out there? So the massacre, yeah, since Zane went off to school this morning, yeah, he's turned on to school this morning. Oh, his mother, with a sigh of relief, happy to get him out of the house. So, as it is his first day, I didn't want to miss that. I didn't want to miss it, taking him to school for the first day. So I went off, and with all good intentions, we were supposed to be back just before 8 to get the show started. It didn't work out that way. Oh, the traffic. Traffic like that. More roads is more cars. You got to study this thing. I was privileged to be part of a transportation study tour somewhere around 2016, 2017. Went to Colombia and Mexico, and some other places. Look and see how they manage traffic there. We ain't even at the tip of the iceberg. We got a long way to go. Such a long way to go. Good to have all of you on the live this morning. Ain't gonna waste no time. Some of you might be on your coffee break at work. Don't want to waste any time. More than I've wasted already. Edward and Debbie and John Wolford, Debbie Collins, Nigel Hector's here as well, and all the other folks who are joining. It's such a privilege to have all of you on the live. The first 15 as we started day to day, it was a horrific news broke on the wires yesterday afternoon around 3 o'clock, folks. Many of you would have seen this. Two young ladies lost their lives at a creek called Enchanter Creek. Something about the name and what transpired there seemed too ominous to me, but I don't want to be too, in like that, but it seemed a little ominous to me. Two young girls, this is Akira LaRose, 10 years old, and Joylyn Jack, 11, tragically drowned yesterday while celebrating a birthday at Enchanter Creek along the Linden Sussex Highway. I rarely go to these creeks. Rarely. I might stop by, you're heading to Linden or you're heading to Ichuni, Kokwani, somewhere like that. You wash your hands or your feet. Very, very rarely do I venture into these areas, especially with large amounts of people too, because lots of questions are being asked this morning. They said they went missing suddenly they went missing, and then the alarm was raised. That's what the report said. Suddenly they went missing and the alarm was raised. Very interesting. This was about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, Sunday. And the girls were, they said, playing in the water and suddenly went missing, prompting a search by family and local authorities. They were later found unresponsive and taken, I think found minutes apart, and taken to the Diamond Diagnostic Center where they were pronounced dead. Yep. According to reports, they're saying that preliminary examinations found no signs of violence, and a postmortem examination is pending to determine the exact cause of death. And of course, these investigations are going on. That's what reached us yesterday afternoon, and it didn't stop there. It was quite a weekend, folks. Quite a weekend, and I wish I had other on a Monday morning early to share with you folks that might start your week on a better tenor. But here it is. Done it, Harding, George. This is what we're, you know, consumed with. Karen McPherson, Debbie Collins, Dolly Anderson, Brenda Moore, Lynn Fernandez. This is just some of what's happening out there, folks. Yesterday afternoon, around 3 o'clock, as we said. Yep. And then across the pond, another bit of very sad news we got, that Guyana-born doctor dies in Alabama crash. And this is Dr. Malcolm Goodchild, a well-known Guyanese-born physician and president of CMG Surgical Specialists, tragically died in a head-on collision on Interstate 85 near exit 62 in Georgia. My lord. This happened on Saturday. He said the accident involved two vehicles, one of which caught fire, and Dr. Goodchild was airlifted to one of the regional health facilities in that area, but was pronounced dead at 20:49 hours due to his injuries. Two other individuals, we're learning, who was involved in this accident with Dr. Goodchild were taken to a nearby hospital, but their conditions remain unknown. That's according to reports we have at this time. Quite interesting. As we were doing some research on this story, we found out that Dr. Goodchild, while he was moving to Georgia from New York in 2016, was in a similar accident. His sister at that time was driving. He said he fell asleep and he was awoken when the vehicle started tumbling on the roadway. He had suffered injuries then as well, but of course recovered. This is in 2016. He was in a major accident too. He wasn't so lucky on Saturday afternoon. But another ominous story here, because as the tributes poured in on social media, one of Dr. Goodchild's colleagues wrote that he was a great surgeon and the funniest person, always laughing and joking. I'm quoting here, always laughing and joking. And she said that he loved to scare her and was just truly an amazing person and doctor. Right? She said that last week, he came out of a very sick patient surgery and he was talking with the staff about how life was too short and how tomorrow was never promised. And to always tell your loved ones you love them every day, because you just never know when it's going to be the last time. That's what Dr. Goodchild was telling one of the staff members. You just never know when it's time. Yep. Saturday was his last day. Right. Isn't that ominous, folks? I find so. I don't want to be too extra this morning by any means, but our thoughts and prayers with the family of the bereaved, Dr. Goodchild, the young ladies who lost their lives over the weekend, Neon Harding, Onessa Wardeen, Maxine Monroe. Take life for granted, we think we'd always have it. But alas, Dr. Goodchild says, you just never know. Tell your loved ones you love them every day, you just never know. That was the end of the sadness of the weekend that we've had. On Delhi Street, there was a collision and a cyclist died over the weekend. All that one weekend, folks. The tragic accident occurred late Friday, so we had Sunday, Saturday, Friday. I'm walking you back. This is Delhi Street, Prashad Nagar in Georgetown here. This accident happened, resulting in the death of a 30-year-old cyclist, one Marlon Fraser. Thoughts with his family. It says Fraser was struck by a motor car while attempting to cross the road, causing severe injuries that led to his death at the scene, despite the EMT's efforts to save him. The driver reportedly tried to avoid the collision but was unsuccessful. And reports indicate that Marlon Fraser's body was taken to the Memorial Gardens Funeral Home for a postmortem examination, and that police investigations are ongoing. How was the weekend? How was the weekend there? Gail? How was the weekend? Deborah and Sabrina and Maxine and Gwazi Griffith. That was the weekend. Sadly, didn't stop there. Didn't stop there. A farmer, female young lady, 29 years old, was stabbed to death, held foot by a reputed husband. Reports said they have a history of violence in this relationship. I don't know. Folks, listen. Let me tell you all a couple of things this early morning. On Nika February, people are going to accuse me of a lot of things, and you're going to hear lots of it. But certain things I've never put my name to, and I'm kind of proud about that. Hitting women, and I can say my wife and I can argue like any normal couple, you know. Teeth and tongue must bite. You always hear it at weddings. But if I find I start thinking, you know, I gotta strangle you or hit you in some way. No, that's me red flag. I can take a turn here. I can take a turn at this point. I get enough problems in my life. I get enough problems. Alexis Roxanne Harris was brutally stabbed to death by her estranged husband, James Lord. This was at her sister's home on Sunday. Reports indicate that he became enraged. He was visiting the children at her sister's home, and he became enraged because she was on her phone. This attack, they say, happened at a place called Frenesi on the west bank of Demerara. They said his nephew tried to intervene, and he was injured as well. The nephew was injured as well. James Lord, the perpetrator, the alleged perpetrator, fled the scene at that time but was later apprehended, right? And told police he attempted to stab himself twice. He's at hospital and currently undergoing, currently receiving medical attention rather. He's at hospital, currently receiving medical attention, and of course he's on the guard there. And as I said, reports indicated they've had a history of domestic violence. A history of domestic violence. And Harris was at the time, as I said, she had moved out 2 months before because of threats to her life. You know, I am cognizant that when I give this information, the family is going to view it. And I don't want to inform more than we know from the reports that we have. But too many women suffer in silence like this. Too many women. And some get out too late, unfortunately. You know, when I read stories like this, I wonder, how many times did Alexis, how many times did Alexis Roxanne Harris read about other women losing their lives in this manner because of a spouse who was physically abusive? He stabbed her and then tried to take his own life. You know, I'm tempted to say hell has a special place reserved for people like this. The lady don't want you. I know some of you might be watching us right now who might be involved in situations like this. But brother, she don't want you to go about your business. She don't want you to go about your business. He didn't even think about the kids. His own nephew there. The anger so much. Onika February. You know when to give, how much to give, when to stop giving, when to walk away. I know it's not always as easy as that. Straightforward as that. You know. Thoughts and prayers with his family. Thoughts and prayers with them. Siobhan, Roxanne, Harris, Lexis, Roxanne Harris. They're at 29. Senseless, senseless violence. Senseless violence. That the report said he became enraged because she was on her phone. He's visiting the children. Didn't see went to visit her. He vexed because she's on the phone. God have mercy on us. Some of the other things we're following, folks. That was the weekend, you know. We're on 15 minutes now, quarter of an hour, and we're just talking about death all the time. An excavator operator lost his life over the weekend as well. This is Joseph Hollingsworth, a 49-year-old machine operator. He died on Saturday too. He was pinned in a drain when an excavator he was operating fell off a truck at Coghlan Dam, Port Drawing on the West Bank. What a weekend. The incident, they tell us, occurred around 9:30 a.m. as Hollingsworth was transporting this excavator in a truck owned by a businessman, Travis Pierpoint. Reports indicate that Joseph Hollingsworth, who lost his life upon realizing that the truck couldn't handle the weight of the excavator, he attempted to offload the excavator from the truck. But the excavator fell and trapped him. And even though Hollingsworth was rescued by nearby citizens, he was later pronounced dead on arrival at the West Demerara Regional Hospital. His body is awaiting post-mortem examination. And I see Sion Gonzalez remarking, another industrial accident. I'm happy you picked up on it so quickly, because health and safety is something on the back burner. We read some of the other reports that are out there that said that Hollingsworth's son said he got this work from a guy over the weekend and decided to go and help him to move the excavator. You know? Occupation, health, and safety. Folks, y'all exercise caution on there. Thoughts and prayers with this family. Joseph Hollingsworth, dead at 49. See what we have to deal with? Hear what Chef Scalo says. The angel of death walked through Guyana, and everyone needs to pray. Correct? You know? I don't want to put it in those terms and get all, all shifty and shaky this early Monday morning. But that is the thing self you explain there. That is the thing self, is a weekend of death. That's what it was. That is what it was. And who didn't die almost died. And the movie Town public road there. The public road by Movie Town. An accident over the weekend almost claimed 2 lives. This was on Friday night on the railway embankment and Movie Town Access Road. This accident occurred. It said it involved a silver motor car driven by a 59-year-old businessman and a motorcycle operated by a 28-year-old Quason Cadogan. There was an 18-year-old pillion rider, one Kishan Murray. They say as the car attempted to right turn, the motorcycle collided with its rear, throwing both riders onto the road. Both men sustained head injuries and were taken to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. They're said to be in a stable condition, and police investigations are ongoing. Thoughts and prayers with them. Quason Cadogan and Kishan Murray. Thoughts and prayers with them. Your motorcycles, you gotta wear your helmet. You're in the car, you gotta, you're on the roads. Period. Practice your 5 C's. Your care, your caution, your consideration. Practice all of them. You can add some C's for good measure. Some of the things we're following, folks, as we push on with the program, as we push on. Cost of living. How the cost of living treating you? How the cost of living treating you, folks? Do let us know. We want to know. How the cost of living agree with you guys? 92 weeks. Sabbath News have been looking at this issue. Community after community. How is the cost of living affecting people? This week, they're in the Suzdijk-Linden Highway, Orange Walk, Georgetown area. That's the catchment. Suzdijk-Linden Highway, and they caught up with some folks in Orange Walk in Georgetown and asked about the rising cost of living and how it's affecting them. Yep. How you think it's affecting them? Beatrice and Gwazi Griffin. How you think it's affecting them? Roxanne Jonas, Sabrina Blue, Lawrence McKenzie. How you think it's affecting them? Things rough and tough out there. Decius Mundu, a 35-year-old from Circuitville on the Linden Suicide Highway. Hear what Decius says. Hear what Decius says. Whenever you get a 5,000 and you break it to buy a couple things in the shop, it done fast. I hope I could quote there verbatim. When you get 5,000 and you break it to buy a couple items in the shop, it done fast. How many of you experience it like that? 1 and 2 times. Here, Jesus Cadogan talking about life in the fastest growing economy in the world. Income country. Fastest growing, biggest GDP. Hear what Decius Mundu said. 1 or 2 times, I take credit from the shop. And when I get my salary, I clear the bill. Neil Thomas, Enid. I know some of us like that. I'm not going to pretend. I know me ain't got no bar, no gold spoon in my mouth. I ain't got money like that. So they're right with Mundu. I stand right here with Mondo. 1 or 2 times I had to take credit from the shop. When I get my salary, I had to clear the bill. That's what Mondo said. I take credit from the shop and I claim a bill. For example, a couple of months back, a pound of sugar was 160, it's now 260 and 280. 160 a couple months ago, 260 and 280. A few months ago, 10 kg carby rice was 1,800. Now it's 2,500. How many of y'all shopping in places like this? Brenda Moore? Brenda says, true. Since you break a 5,000, it's done. God have his mercies. Sabrina Blue said, things tight. Gilali Cox said, pray, Sherrod. Mondu says, since you break a 5,000, this year's, it done. And then you got Niall Ramdial. Niall Ramdial, a 43-year-old self-employed of Circuitville. Hear what Niall says. Niall says there's been a dramatic increase on items my family and I purchase on a daily basis. This is in their own deliberate judgment. Nobody didn't coax them. They didn't talk to the new nation in the PNCR. They didn't talk to the key in the lines for change. There's been a dramatic increase on items my family and I purchase on a daily basis. Niall Ramdial says, the cost of living is very hard. Listen what Niall says next. Even to get a good job is hard. Cost of living hard. Getting work hard. Even to get a good job, Niall Ramdial said, it's hard. Now I have to work longer hours to provide for my family. See? Apologies. A drop piece of my equipment and y'all help me out. Even to get to work hard. Even to get to work hard. My apologies. Even to get to work. Y'all think it's easy in the fastest growing economy in the world? We can come to some of the realities in this fastest growing economy. And that's what Niall says. Things rough and tough. I gotta work longer hours to provide for my family now. Let me take one more. Yvonne Solomon. Yvonne said mostly get water and electricity problems. That's me high cost of living. Yvonne says, Yvonne Solomon, mostly I get light and water problems. Mostly. She said I'm a family of 3, including my child and husband. Right? Here it is. Yvonne Solomon is an entrepreneur. Yvonne said, I run a poultry business. And I'm also, listen to this, you can't even make it in a poultry business now. Yvonne said, I'm also a part-time government worker. Right? Dolly Anderson, you seem to hit the nail on the head. Yvonne says he's a part-time government worker. I do cope, though, with the high cost of living. A couple of months back, bag of feed for chicken was $6,100. Now the same bag of feed is $6,200. A few months back, a pound of chicken was $500. It's $600 and $700 now. That is what she said. Yvonne Solomon. That's what Yvonne said. Right. That is what Yvonne said. It's rough. And if we take one more. And Mohanlal. And Mohanlal from Yarra Cabra. Answer I know right now. The government trying to bring down the cost of living. And the government is helping a lot of people on the highway, especially single parents, right now, who have received help with shade houses. So they were able to plant and bring down the cost of living. Yeah? In Anne's own deliberate judgment, she said they give shade houses. And single mothers on the highway were able to plant and bring down the cost of living. Anne said rough though. A couple months back, a pound of sugar was $140, it's $200 now. A pound of sugar was $140. Now a pound is $200. A couple months back, a liter bottle of oil was $500. Is it now? I think the government should not only help single parents, but other villagers in terms of agricultural wise. That's what the individual said. Everything going up. Government got to help more than single mothers. In Anne's own deliberate judgment and Mohanlal. That's what Anne concluded. Things rough. Things tight. That's how the cost of living affecting people. That's what affecting people. The brigadier speaks. Brigadier, David Arthur Granger, we saw a Village Voice reporting over the weekend, is of the view there's a cost of living crisis in Guyana, basically, which strains households. Cost of living crisis. The brigadier didn't talk to them people. Didn't talk to Anne. Brigadier didn't talk to Anne Mohanlal. Brigadier living in this economy too. Folks, the escalating cost of living crisis in this country is severely impacting the middle and the lower class household. This is part of what David Arthur Granger, President Granger, said recently. I just vexed some of y'all. He said basic expenses like food, healthcare, rent, and utilities rising steadily over the past 50 months. Basic. You're trying to do extra. President Granger is of the opinion that women, especially housewives, are disproportionately burdened as they struggle to afford essential food items amid the rising costs. And of course, he was very critical of the PP government's focus on infrastructure over sustainable agricultural development, arguing that investments should be redirected to food security, improve hinterland to coastland transportation, and robust agricultural policies. President Granger emphasized the importance of achieving the UN's goal of ending hunger and ensuring food security to alleviate this crisis. Yep, true words have not been spoken. The brigadier spot on. Nobody's arguing don't do infrastructure. Nobody's arguing that. But we could be balanced. You see? We could be balanced. Because the thing we're spending money for, we gotta wonder. Them boys said they're trying to cure the blackout woes. And like the blackout ship, that the birds eat out the wire, allegedly leaking oil and oily substance into the Berbice River. This was a point raised quite recently at a public meeting by a fellow called Richie Ramkisoon. Richie says the boat is a power boat leaking oil in the Berbice River. But Region 6 Chairman David Armagon, he has refuted this. He said the waste oil is not from this power vessel. Right. He said the boats are leaking. It's not from the power vessel. This fellow, Rishi Ramkisoon, he's the chairman of the East Bank Berbice Fishermen's Co-op. And he stated that the oil pollution is impacting activities. The oil pollution is impacting activities. But Armagon fire back, of course. He gotta defend the PPP. He said an investigation showed no evidence, of the barge being the source of the pollution, and that the origin of the oil remains unknown. The origins of the oil remains unknown, according to Armagon. Yep. Do you remember the barge that was supposed to alleviate the power wars? Hasn't been working out so well. That's some of the things you're following this morning, folks. Share the live for us as you come on. Marlon Lorma, good to see you on the live today. Yvonne Ramansar, good to see you on the live as well. Good to have all of you. I see we got Marlon Thomas too on the live, Yolanda, Andrew Griffith. Andrew, is this so? I know this is your jurisdiction. Is it so, Andrew? Is it so? Following it. Penalinas, we see you there. Asha, Debbie, Volme. Thanks for joining us, guys. Good to have you folks on the live. I'm happy that Kanu is helping to take some of this arms and ammunition off the streets. On Sunday, they arrested a man with an illegal firearm, matching ammunition in Georgetown. This is according to Kanu. His officers, acting on information received, conducted an operation in Norton Street, here in Georgetown, where they intercepted a male carrying a backpack. The 9mm submachine gun and magazine were found on the suspect. A subsequent search of the backpack revealed one 9mm submachine gun with a matching magazine. The suspect was arrested and escorted to Kanu headquarters. He had the firearm. What are you doing with that? What are you doing with that? Thank you, Kanu. Thank you, Kanu. Thank you. Remember we talk about how cost of living is going up and the interventions, the rise of the contractor class. Well, a lot of corrupt contracts out there. Former Auditor General Dr. Anand Gulcharan says, MPTAB, this is the National Procurement and Tender Administration Board. There's some conflicts of interest not being addressed by MPTAB. There are procurement irregularities not being addressed by MPTAB. Not being addressed by them. I saw Nigel Hughes, leader of the Alliance for Change, my party of choice, of course. My party of choice. Said over the weekend, if you could cut the wastage, government wastage, we could pay teachers, we could do some other things with this fund. You could cut corruption. That extra money there, you could do some things with it. Gulcharan has criticized the National Procurement and Tender Administration Board, MPTAB, for its handling of a potential conflict of interest involving a company allegedly owned by the wife of the Deputy Commissioner Acting, Calvin Brutus, which supplies goods to the Ghana Police Force. The officer wife supplied things to the police force. Former Auditor General Anand Gulcharan said that's a conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. Gulcharan also pointed out, if you read a report today in Starbuck News, that MPTAB failed to conduct proper background checks before approving the company as supplier, raising concerns about transparency and accountability. Now here's where Gulcharan and I differ. Here's where Gulcharan and I differ. Because Gulcharan is assuming they didn't conduct the background check. Then boys must do the check, found out the connection and said, that's all right. PP come back. PPP come back. In this piece in Starbuck News today, Gulcharan touching on the investigation of the same Calvin Brutus, led by Saku, right? He expressed surprise that police investigating police in these very high-profile matters. Gulcharan argues that police procurement irregularities have been almost historical within the disciplined services, including contract splitting and breaches of tender regulations. And he is urging a complete reorganization by MPTAB to ensure independence from government influence. Independence from government influence. That's what he's urging. And as I said, over the weekend we saw the leader of the Alliance for Change, Nigel Hughes. See if you could cut some of the fat, you see, cut some of the excess. He's of the opinion we could do a couple of things in this country to the benefit of our people. But why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we doing it? That's the question. Rise of the contractor class. Corruption. Dora Dora. Dora Dora. Corruption. Y'all gotta be careful out there. Folks, we gotta be careful. You heard all that. You heard all that Gulshan said there. All that I quoted there. You heard all of it. Irfan had a live yesterday. Irfan is a gift. And not even a very good gift too. Irfan is a gift, folks. Right? Irfan ran out. Right out. Sometimes I just don't know. Right? I don't want to pretend, good folks, but sometimes I just don't know. Some of the things Irfan says. You got all these folks hurting economically. You heard all the names I called there with Starbuck News. Right? You heard all those names. Irfan had a live. Here Irfan trying to solve this country's problem. Here Irfan trying to solve the country's problem. I got a problem with how he's trying to solve the country problems.
This evening, I want to examine the expenditure profile of successive governments, and for the public to determine the expenditure profile, the priorities of the APNU AFC government between 2015 and 2020. What was the expenditure profile like during that period, as against the spending from 2020 beyond? What is targeted by that spending and the profile of that expenditure? This evening, I want to examine the expenditure profile of successive governments, and for the public to determine the expenditure profile, the priorities of the APNU AFC government between 2015 and 2020. What was the expenditure profile like during that period, as against the spending from 2020 beyond? What is targeted by that spending and the profile of that expenditure?
Yeah, that's what he said. He's comparing the expenditure profile between 2015 to 2020 with their administration when we had no oil and gas money. He's looking to see what we spent money on compared to what they're spending the oil money on. I heard Gail Desher even said it quite recently at a forum. Again, no government in the history of this country has ever had money like this. But he could try to kerfuffle us that APNU didn't do as much as the PPP. How could we? We had billions pumping out there. We had money flowing in that consolidated fund. We were busy setting up the fund so that Guyanese could benefit. Not in the way that you all are doing it here. But you all see what he's focused on? Oh, let us look at the project profile, the spending profile. And Naomi is right on the live this morning. Now, Mr. Guyana didn't exist before 2015. You're right for Butts Big Laugh, Naomi. Guyana didn't exist before 2015. Folks, we got hundreds of you on the live, and I'm so heartened by that. If you find any value in this program, folks, share the live for us. Smash that emoji button as well. Part of what former Auditor General Anand Gulchran said in his column over the weekend, again, talking about these issues of corruption and conflict of interest and calling out Empatap. He was looking at the performance of the economy of recent. And some of his thoughts here are quite interesting. Quite interesting. Again, this is Gulchran. The kinds of money that we make it now, we never make it before. But look at these guys looking back. Oh, let me talk about 2015. Let us talk about 2015. Don't let me talk about nothing else. Gulchran says in this column over the weekend, or today rather, Guyana's economic landscape is shaped by rapid GDP growth, driven by the oil and gas sector, increasing public debt, and a substantial natural resource fund. A substantial national resource fund, Irfan. The GDP grew by 49.7% for the first half of 2024, primarily due to the oil sector. This is Gulchran. Well, Irfan said, let me go back to 2015 and see. Go administration by administration and see what we spent money on. They want you to believe that this 49.7% growth in GDP is only because of them. It is only because of the PPP. But while we're talking about that, Irfan, another thing Anand Gulchran spoke about today, he said the public debt has rose to over 5 billion, reflecting increased borrowing for social and infrastructural projects. Finally, Gulchran says that the Natural Resource Fund is buoyed, held up by oil reserves, which reached nearly 2.9 billion in mid-2020. APNU didn't have that kind of money. What kind of fool would go and comparing spendings of administrations like that? He wants, we building the Burbis Bridge, Schoonard Highway. We pulling money out from PP bank account. Is it money from the oil? Was oil flowing? Or revenues from the oil, was that flowing in 2015? Is it stupidness if someone coming alive and tell you? Dress anyhow. Look, before my blood pressure come this morning, let's get on the road. You know, Jagni out there talking. Has to be an oil and gas. Nigel Hughes raises the point, and we don't talk about these things nearly enough. We do not speak about these things nearly enough. Nigel said Jagni got to explain all of these oil blocks gave away just before they lost power. Just before they exited, they had already lost power. Just before they exited office. He got to explain that. I'm telling you what Nigel Hughes said. Jagdi won't talk half and left half. He said he has to explain the controversial allocation of the Kaichor and the Kanchi offshore oil blocks just before 2015 elections. In the Lines for Change press conference last week, Nigel wailed into them about the lack of transparency, and he noted that there is no public advertisement or competitive bidding process for those valuable oil blocks, which were given to companies lacking expertise for ultra deep drilling. And listen to this. These oil blocks were later flipped for significant profits. Rock and come in, Jack Dio. Rock and come in. Nigel is of the view there is need for serious discussion on corruption under the PPP. We don't talk about their corruption nearly enough. There ought to be serious discussion on the corruption of the PPP government. And of course, he also, if you watch that press conference, he highlighted concerns over how state assets were transferred and large contracts awarded without adequate scrutiny. Hughes warned that without addressing such issues, Guyana risks becoming a rich banana republic with limited benefits for citizens. Limited benefits for citizens. Gilalikak say we big. But we ain't stupid. We big. We got the age. We ain't stupid. Let's wrap it up, folks. Let's wrap it up as we push on with the time. An interesting letter to the editor. As we had Exxon. GKH Lal wailing to Jagdeo. GKH Lal wailing to Jagdeo. Wailing to Alistair Rutledge, president of ExxonMobil Guyana. Apparently, Rutledge wrote to the media stating that concerns raised by Kaichor News about the oil sector was propaganda and unfounded. GKH Lal says Rutledge is out of order. Out of order. Out of order. Marley wants to know what's happening to PHC. Is it functioning? No. Not functioning. Not functioning. Not functioning. So in this letter to the editor, GKH Lal has criticized severely Rutledge for dismissing claims of misinformation about the company's operation. GKH Lal has expressed outrage over Exxon's refusal to clarify how many barrels of Guyana's oil are used in daily production or exported. This is a question that was initially raised by international attorney Melinda Janke. And Lal has accused Rutledge of evading direct answers, failing to provide transparency. He said this is similar to the approach of Vice President Jagdeo. Similar to the approach of Vice President Jagdeo. Y'all know him. You know his style. Obfuscation. GKH Lal ends this letter to the editor by saying, there ought to be greater accountability from ExxonMobil. You can never have too much accountability, including detailed disclosures of oil project expenses and open communication on new oil developments. Lal also emphasized the need for reliable business practices to rebuild trust with the Guyana public. Oh, we've been brutalized where this is concerned. Where trust is concerned, we have been brutalized. Well, we're still in oil and gas. While we're still in the sector, or rather outside of oil and gas, you all remember that the sanctions that were leveled, the US government said that gold was being smuggled, evading taxes and number of things, evading the authorities' attention. 50 million US dollars. Jack's press conference last week, he said he's still waiting for the report from the US. That's what he said. He said there's this. He said there's the need for the information from the US government to proceed with the local investigation. That's what he said. Stranger than fiction, folks. Moving on as we wrap up. As we take our leave. This one is serious. The Ministry of Housing, or the Central Housing and Planning Authority, CHNPA, they're saying don't pay for any land or make payments to the ministry or to the authority by MMG. They say they have no arrangement with MMG, right? And to beware of scams. Government of scams telling you to beware of scams. That's the kind of government we got. You know, police some thief in this country. The minister, Colin Crowell, says that all payments for land and housing units should be made directly to Central Housing and Planning Authority, and that there is no arrangement, as I said, for payments by MMG. He urged the public to remain vigilant, verify any communication, and report scams to the ministry and to the Guyana Police Force. There's a lot of scammers out there, including the government. A lot of scammers out there. Folks are trying to be a hero this morning. Again, our apologies for the late start. First day, new term. Wanted to get a little guy off to school. See him off to school. It means something to us as a family. See him off to school. Thanks for staying with us this morning. We're going to be back later on with some more information, folks. We are going to be back with some more information. But that's going to do it for us. They said, Seafarers Pride and Dorrit David, Shamila Edgel and Debbie Collins, Chisel Chipper, Sabrina Blue, Patricia Craig. We'll have all of you on the live, folks. That's our time this morning. And that's our program. Naomi, good to see you. Chisel, Osmond Hodge, and all the other beautiful folks who joined us this morning. Before you leave, do us the biggest favor. Smash that emoji button for us, folks, and share the live. Thank you so much. That's our time, and that's the program. We're going to see you a little later on today, folks. Take care. Take care.